Pre-summit events ahead of the US-Africa leaders meeting are showcasing the dynamism and depth of the multidimensional cultural and economic ties between the US and Africa. One of Nigeria's leading businessmen and philanthropists, Tony Elumelu, in partnership with the US Department of State, has organized an event to foster relationships and deal-making and highlight opportunities across the US-Africa investment ecosystem. Nkechi Nana has more.
Investing in U.S.-Africa cultural and economic ties is the agenda at the Innovators Gathering, an evening hosted by the U.S. Secretary of State in partnership with the U.S. Agency for International Development and the Tony Elumelu Foundation. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken underscored the support in catalyzing partnerships between African and diaspora innovators, entrepreneurs, and U.S. capital technology.
Earlier this year in South Africa, I had an opportunity to set out our administration's strategy for the region. And at its core, the strategy can be distilled in one word. You've already heard it spoken tonight: partnership. It's rooted in the recognition that the United States and African nations can't deliver on any of our fundamental needs and aspirations for our people, and we can't solve any of the really big challenges we face if we don't work together. So, it's about what we can do with African nations and people, not for them. Let me just very quickly go through 3 ways our administration is working to broaden and deepen those partnerships to foster African innovation. First, we're investing in the infrastructure that provides the foundation for African entrepreneurship. Second, we're investing in rising leaders. Since President Obama created the Young African Leaders Initiative, nearly 5,800 trailblazers from every country in sub-Saharan Africa have come to the United States for academic and leadership training. Third, we are fostering greater engagement by American companies. You're going to hear more about that throughout this week.
At the summit, Africa is tagged as one of the fastest growing startup cultures in the world, and one of the biggest drivers of that growth is calling for mutual benefit and self-reliance in its relations with the U.S.
My message to U.S. was to reimagine your relationship with Africa away from aid and to focus on empowerment of youth and support for sustainable private sector institutions. My subsequent op-ed in the Hill called for a new U.S. engagement with Africa. The fact that we are gathered here in Washington this week shows to a large extent a genuine interest to re-engage in a manner that prioritizes mutual benefit and self-reliance. We see this as a genuine and substantive desire to re-engage with Africa and to re-engage on a basis that benefits us all. The key words are mutual respect, mutual opportunity, and mutual objectives. We appreciate particularly the focus on the private sector.
To amplify the African story and change the narrative, the New York mayor highlights how far the continent has come.
And so I need for my brothers and sisters from the diaspora to understand the moment that you're in right now. You are in a moment right now when, the first time in history, you are seeing power that is not American power, but is African power. But if you don't connect the dots, you are not going to understand the full purpose of this moment. The mayor of the most important city in the most important country is an African. The most important cities in America are headed by Africans. In New York City, the top law enforcement executive, Letitia James, is an African. The head of the assembly is an African. The head of the Senate is an African. The head of the city council is an African. The public advocate is an African. The district attorney in the Bronx is an African. The district attorney in Manhattan is an African. All of this chocolate, what are we going to do with it?
The world is recognizing the next generation of African leaders through their innovation and success stories. And as the US Africa Leaders Summit is underway, one thing is clear: Africa must strive for mutual benefits in their relations. Nkechi Nana, Arise News, Washington, D.C.